Alright, the materials that we will be needing is a lighter to burn the edges. Amsteel has a, I'm using Amsteel by the way. It's a very thin, very light, very strong material. It's a lot stronger than paracord, which I believe is about 560 pounds. Whereas the same diameter Amsteel, 1/8 inch, is 2,500 pounds, so over a ton. But the Amsteel has a, I read a much higher melting point than other materials, but so you really can't melt the ends together like you can with, say, like paracord or something, but you can still singe the edges so that it doesn't unravel. Last two things, a knife and a marker for drawing measurements on your material. Now I'm using a knife instead of scissors, so if you're using one or the other, you really don't need both. So start out with a 15-foot piece of paracord, Amsteel. This, using 15 feet, you'll be able to get about adjustability from about 1'4" up to about 7 feet. So from the end of your hammock, you can tie off to something 1'4" away up to 7 feet away, and adjustable anywhere there in between. So I've already got some lines on here. So you're going to start out by, you also need some measuring tape. Start out by measuring 18 inches from the end. This is going to be a fixed loop or a fixed eye. This is going to be the part that you actually attach to your hammock. So start out, measure 18 inches, draw your line. Don't worry about this fat line here. I apparently don't know how to measure. So measure 18 inches and draw your first line on there. Measure another 5 inches and draw a second line. This is just to give you some space. This is going to be where your berry comes out of the constrictor, or basically where you would tighten up the Whoopie Sling. I've got 5 inches here just so this isn't pressed up against the wad of hammock here. So that 5 inches is just a spacer, and you can really make that shorter or longer if you like. Next, I'm going to be doing a 12-inch berry, or a 12-inch constrictor, meaning 12 inches, the actual amount of Amsteel that's going to be constricting on the other piece going inside of it will be 12 inches long. When you've got the berry inside of it, it's going to be about 10 inches, so don't see that and freak out when it's finished and think that you measured wrong, because you didn't, unless you actually did. The first step is tying your fixed eye. Again, ignore this fat line. I didn't measure twice and mark once. So to the 18-inch mark is that's what you're going to use to make your fixed eye. And I'm going to use a figure 8 knot. I would rather just tie a knot than go to the trouble of pulling it back into itself. And try and keep this knot as far up this way as possible, because this is going to be going through the sleeve on your hammock. Unless your hammock doesn't have a sleeve and you're just wrapping it around a balled up section of it. That's pretty good. Alright. Next up, we actually run the berry through the constrictor. So, let me find that end. For me, to get the berry through the sewing needle I'm using, by the way, this is just a what was labeled as a children's sewing needle at Walmart. It was $2 for a 4-pack of them. But to get this through the eye here, I had to pull out a few strands. So that's what I'm doing now. All I'm doing is pulling out a few strands of this to thin it up a bit. I'll pull out 2, go down a centimeter, pull out 2 more. I'm not really being picky on which ones I'm pulling out. I'm not sure if I should be, but so I'm just going to pull out about 6 strands. And it looks like the first 2 I pulled out, I ended up re-pulling out below. So I'm going to pull out 2 more up here. And cut those off. So I've got it pretty thin right there. Should be thin enough. Yeah, I think that should do. Okay. So I'm just going to make sure I don't have any loops in here. All we're going to do is feed this needle in through the middle from this line to this line. That's the 12-inch berry that we're going to do. And it helps if you expand it a bit. It will help you in a minute when you're actually running the line through there. I'm just going to start milking this over the needle there. See, the end of the needle is about right there now. Oops, I'm going to pull it out a bit.